From concept to reality, covering more than 65 countries, connecting 60% of the world's population, contributing about 30% of global GDP. Since 2013, China has invested more than $60 billion in countries along the Belt and Road route, established more than 80 overseas economic and trade cooperation zones, and provided more than 240,000 local jobs. More than 2,000 years ago, the ancient Silk Road was a game changer in forging economic and cultural ties between China and other nations. And now, greater connectivity brings with it greater diversity in different civilizations. In the 21st century, when the world is facing new challenges, the Belt and Road Initiative is expected to take that spirit of cooperation to new heights, to build a community with a shared future for humanity.
Hello and welcome to Vision into Reality, a special program on the Belt and Road Initiative, jointly presented to you by China Global Television Network, People's Television Network of the Philippines, and the National TV of Laos. We are all members of the Belt and Road News Alliance. I'm Tian Wei, the host of World Insight with Tian Wei on CGTN.
On behalf of PTV, I'm Martin Andanar, the Secretary of the Presidential Communications Operations Office of the Philippines.
And I'm Supakson Silapet, news reporter and anchor for Lao National Television English News Program.
First of all, let's meet our honored guests, also coming from the three countries. Mr. Fu Jun, Academic Dean of the Institute of South-South Cooperation and Development at Peking University.
Mr. Ivan Frank Olea, Minister and Consul General, Embassy of the Philippines to China.
And Mr. Latanamani Kunibong, Vice Minister of Public Works and Transport of Laos, and also the Chairman of the Laos-China Railway Project Management Committee.
And sitting there in the audience, we have experts and friends coming from the three countries and many other along the Belt and Road Initiative. A warm welcome to all of you. Thank you for being with us.
Actually, before the Belt and Road Initiative was proposed, we have had extensive economic and cultural exchanges, and the BRI has revived that. And for today, we have brought to you some Lao folk dance called Khao Niao Sian Can. The can is a Lao traditional reed instrument that has originated from some ethnic groups in Laos, and of course as a southwest part of China. And we share that tradition since ancient time. In addition, in December 2017, the can music of the Lao people has been inscribed in UNESCO's list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity. So please enjoy.
to see how the hands is being used so flexibly and elegantly. I understand that every gesture seems to have a meaning behind it.
I was about to go there and dance.
I was trying to stop you from doing that. But having said that, though, Professor Fu, I have to ask you, what is the word that's really coming to your mind when you think about the possibility of Belt and Road Initiative?
I have to be very brief this time. It's connectivity.
As simple as that.
As simple as that. Now, if for me to look at the dance, I see elements of silk. I see elements of mermaid. Probably that's the western part. And I also see the elements of Chang'e flying to the moon. And I guess probably due to the long time of Silk Road, there is a constant mix of different cultures. And what we now see is this particular form of dancing. But people tend to forget the long history of interconnectivity among nations.
For me, the BRI is also about connectivity, but not just about infrastructure like roads or air links, but also people-to-people exchanges, which allows us to come together, exchange ideas and culture, much like this program that we're having right now.
Exactly. What about for our Filipino friends?
Well, for me, Wei, it's about synergy. It's the greater sum of two parts when you add them together. And drawing from the dance, I know it's Western, but it takes two to tango.
Yes.
What about you, Frank?
What comes to mind is the centuries-old friendship that we have had with China. Like what Professor said, our long ties dates back to the Song Dynasty. And then I think not many people know that the first Chinatown in the world is in the Philippines.
Where is it?
Established in 1594. And after that, if you'll allow me to delve further, it's the Philippines played a key role in the ancient maritime Silk Road because Chinese goods through the Philippines were finding their way to South America because of the Manila-Acapulco trade.
Vice Minister, what do you think about BRI when it comes up to you in your mind?
I think this strategy is focusing on two things, namely the connectivity, and the second thing is about the cooperation. Then I think the progress of the implementation of this strategy has been greater than many people expected. I think, for example, in my country, you know, the mega project has been already realized, namely the China Railway.
As mentioned already, Laos and China has enjoyed fruitful cooperation in various sectors, including infrastructure, trade, financing, and education. And it's the first, as there's various projects that are happening in Laos. First up is the communication satellite project that was launched in November 2015. The next is the Vientiane Sai Seta Development Zone, which was jointly initiated by the governments of China and Laos. And of course, lastly but not least, is this Laos-China Railway project, which will greatly allay concerns of transportation for many foreign companies that are investing here in Laos. The Laos-China Railway project is not only a bridge to connect the two countries, it also marks an important milestone in Laos' socio-economic development. People from both Laos and China have enjoyed media reports that the project officially begins construction on December 25, 2016. Prime Minister of the Lao People's Democratic Republic, Thongloun Sisulit, has reaffirmed that regional connectivity will be realized. He said Laos was benefiting directly from this program, which had resulted in the ongoing construction of the almost $6 billion railway linking Vientiane to the Chinese border. The project is a part of Laos' development goal of transforming the country from landlocked to land-linked, and also to promote people-to-people exchanges and a deeper understanding. The railway, which will cover a distance of 427 kilometers, is slated for completion in 2021. Our Vice Minister, Kun Yu-vong, has been involved with the project since the very beginning. Vice Minister, can you share with us some interesting stories that involved in the project during the process of preparation and the construction?
You know, this project, in the beginning, I never thought that this project will in the reality. Why? because you know it's the huge project with the investment of very high cost, around 6,000 million US dollar. So it's very huge money for Laos. In the feasibility study, you know, what is important in the feasibility study is the financial internal rate of return is only 3%. 3% means 40 years the capital can be returned. So it's very long time. No one invests for that. But through the discussion with our friends, colleagues, it takes 6 years. 6 years. And that time I came 2-3 times a year here in Beijing and discuss with our Chinese colleagues. And finally, 2016, it takes 6 years, then we start the project. So therefore, I say that this project is really a symbolic, historic, and strategic between Laos and China.
Congratulations, I would say.
Yes.
A long-time feasibility study, isn't it?
long time.
Eventually, the decision has been made.
Yeah, it's been made.
And once decision made, we are firm to push it forward.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes, yes.
Vice Minister, what benefits you say this project will bring here for Laos, and how do you local people back home in Laos perceive the BRI?
I have talked to the people in the site. Firstly, I have made the awareness to the people along the side of the alignment of the railway. So I make them understanding about the importance of this project. What this project will bring benefit to our people. I just tell them about the cost of the transport. Nowadays, the cost of transport by truck is about 1,350 kip for 1 ton, for 1 ton and 1 kilometer. But if this project ready, the cost for the railway transport is only 630 kip per ton per kilometer, means half price. And at the same time, the stretch, the distance is also half. For example, when we travel from the Vientiane capital to the border to China, it takes 900 kilometers. When we travel by railway, only 400 kilometers.
I see.
So that creates the opportunity for the population to produce agricultural products to sell to China with cheaper price, and the cost of the goods, the product is competitive.
Minister is doing a very good job because, as we all know, for the Laos, the land is very important because it does not have access to the sea. So land transportation is the ultimate way of transportation for your country.
And at the same time, you know, this project will realize the strategy of the government to transform the status of Laos as landlocked country to be landing country. You know.
Exactly. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We draw strength and inspiration from Laos. I believe that you have been in the Belt and Road Initiative longer than we have been in the Philippines, but the Philippines is very keen in participating in the Belt and Road Initiative. As a matter of fact, our President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, has a similar bold infrastructure program called the Build, Build, Build. Build, build, build. You remind everyone to build. And I believe personally that both programs complement each other. Recently, about 2 months ago, both the government of China and the Philippine government have ground-broke 2 bridge projects in Manila. And this is the Binondo and Intramuros Bridge and the Pantaleon Estrella Bridge. June of this year, we also started the construction of the Chico River Pump Irrigation Project in Kalinga. This is also under the China Concession Loan Program. So, as you will see, this BRI is well received by the Philippine government. Please watch this.
The Philippines, with over 7,000 islands, with a relatively young population growing every single day, contributing to 1.4% of the total world population. But a high population also demands a high quality of life. One man is up to that task.
We will make a few years the golden age of infrastructure in the Philippines help me build a better tomorrow.
Bridges, railways, and shipping lanes. They will not only connect places, but people and culture as well. President Rodrigo Duterte believes that infrastructure acceleration is one of the key strategies in providing a comfortable life for all Filipinos. Through the Build, Build, Build program of the administration, more places will be accessible, traffic will be reduced, trading and travel time will be improved, and job opportunities will increase.
By the end of the term of the president, people will be very impressed at how much this administration has accomplished.
Getting more projects from China, if you would compare to the previous
Well, China, they've been very helpful and they've been very aggressive about helping us. They're very sincere in wanting to help the president in this program. It's been challenging but very fulfilling, and I'm very happy that we've finished some projects and many of them are in advanced stages already.
The Belt and Road Initiative is considered as one of the largest infrastructure programs in history, with the Build, Build, Build program gaining ground and the Belt and Road Initiative reaching more and more countries around the world. We can certainly expect great things from this partnership. The country's vision of eradicating poverty, promoting sustainability and economic growth, and providing a comfortable life for all Filipinos are slowly becoming a reality.
And there are more projects coming from the government of China. Big ticket railway project we call the Bicol Express Railway Revival Project. And I suppose, Frank, you can talk more about that.
Thank you. But before discussing this, I'd like to make everyone aware of the significance of the Build, 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 because it enables us to be more competitive in the years to come. We are now a middle-income country, lower middle income, and we aspire to be a higher middle-income country. And prior to that, critics have been saying that we have been underinvesting in infrastructure development. So when the President Duterte administration came in, they decided to ramp up the infrastructure spending, and it is targeted that by 2022, from less than 3% GDP, it will go up to 7.4% GDP. It will cost about 8 trillion pesos, or 1 trillion yuan, or $160 billion. And with the two projects which Secretary Martin earlier, the bridges earlier discussed, it was provided to us at a grant of close to over 5 billion pesos, or about 165 million renminbi. So this is for this we are very, very happy and very grateful for the benevolence of China. And as they see that there are some complementarities, because we are a young population, 24 years average, 105 million people, and there are many things to come. And the last week of August, 6 economic ministers came to Beijing. Almost all of the economic ministers of my country were here in Beijing. And then they discussed about 13 projects for possible financing with the Chinese government. And hopefully it will come to fruition when President Xi Jinping visits the Philippines in November.
Frank, you've been in China for a number of years and participating in various cultural events. How do you see the improvement of people-to-people exchanges between China and the Philippines?
First of all, it's because there's this common, that most people think that economic, for Filipinos, it's essentially economic. That what they have in mind is when our Chinese friends come to the Philippines is essentially for economic purposes. However, we are slowly starting to understand how the Chinese people are in China, how they think, and this can be further enhanced with the programs of the Chinese government to invest in people-to-people exchanges, such as scholarships, media exchanges, and so on and so forth.
Also, from the Lao side, we're quite curious as well. Share with us, how does the overall population in the Philippines view the BRI projects, and what is the benefits you think that the general public would gain from this?
So far, another aspect that has grown in the Philippines is the number of Chinese tourists traveling from China to the Philippines. And I believe we have already broke the 1 million tourists coming from China. So how about a big round of applause?
There we go.
Talking about tourism, Secretary Martin is correct. In 2015, we had about 470,000 Chinese tourists visiting the Philippines. This jumped to 690,000 the following year, and then 1 million, and then now we are targeting at least 1.5 million Chinese visitors this year.
Usually when you say people-to-people exchanges, when you say cultural exchanges, you talk about travel, music, the dancing that we saw.
Fun stuff.
But there's one more lacking. It's food, right?
Oh, yes.
The Philippines have been adopting Chinese ingredients, even during the ancient maritime Silk Road. And since BRI is reopening the maritime Silk Road, I heard that Philippine cuisine has become more popular here in China. So what we have done is light bulbs flashing. We have a makeshift kitchen over that side.
Yes.
And let's see what's cooking there.
All
Let's
right
go.
then. Let's also invite our law friend. Okay.
We have Chef Jack and the assistant chef,
Hello.
Consul Mark.
How are you?
And what are we cooking today?
Today, we'll be cooking and preparing for you is kare-kare. Kare-kare is a traditional Filipino stew. It's similar to the curry coming from our neighbors, Asian neighbors, as well as Southeast Asian neighbors. But for us Filipinos, we think that this is distinctly Filipino, all because of very special ingredients.
We're going to invite all of them come over. Please, our
Come over
guests
and
from
try.
China, from the Laos and the Philippines. With the beautiful cream paste.
How about a big round of applause for Jack?
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome back. We talk about the spices that has been spreading around along the ancient Silk Road. We also see these kinds of exchanges throughout history that actually brought all of us different cooking styles. The Philippines has interactions with various countries, with America, with Spain, with China, with many ASEAN countries as well. So you see the cooking style varies. So is China, so is the Laos. So, Professor, what about the legacy of the Belt and Road Initiative?
When I'm talking about projects of 40 years long, think of the history. Silk Road lasts for centuries. And people tend to debate about the role of market and the government. When you have to build something very long, sometimes you have to think the role of government is very important, because after all, we are talking about the basic infrastructure. When you have infrastructure, people tend to come together, so you have the supply side and the demand side.
Right.
And we can enjoy food, have a great session of what I would say, eat, drink, and be merry. And from there on, we continue to move forward. So when I look at the projects we are doing, the things you have been promoting, the 3 Bs, and what we are doing here in China, I do see a lot of commonalities.
You know, we have always been wondering, how come our ancestors, all of ours, had the ambition and the vision and the guts to be able to walk along the ancient Silk Road despite of the difficult conditions and the lack of tools of their times. But they have made it possible. And now we, it seems, have been coming together with a vision and also with a solution to many of the problems we are facing right now. We hope working together could really get us there together.
My grandfather was from Fujian province. Took the old Silk Road to the Philippines, and I'm taking the BRI back here in China.
Exactly. What a beautiful coincidence.
Yes.
But I guess as we Asians all believe, we are destined. And this is our fate, in a way. Talking about fate, I have to present to all our audience and our friends something from China, Zither music. Okay? So that is something very Chinese, 21 to 25 strings plugged instruments coming from ancient China, a very different kinds of sound. And the music presented by two beautiful ladies coming from China is called the Song from the Tianshan Mountain. Tianshan, as you may know, is the place where the ancient Silk Road was actually built upon. So it is a gate between China and many other cultures along the ancient Silk Road. I'm sure in that piece of music, we could really read out some history. So let's listen in. You could almost tell the horses are running through the mountains and therefore getting together with the loved ones. You could tell from the rhythm in a way.
Amazing talent.
Exactly.
That actually brings us back to the original term I was talking about, connectivity or interconnectivity. Throughout history, China has been in interconnectivity with other parts of the world. That in turn has made our culture very rich. And it's during the 21st century that theme should come back to China, and China to the rest of the world. We continue to have that interconnectivity.
Whether it is the flowers or the vegetables, the music, the cooking styles, the spices, everything we have today is already a product of exchanges of the ancient times. Actually, we're very proud of this because our own cultures all present a part of that. Having said that, though, Professor Fu, I have to ask you about that because there are a lot of questions and suspicions about, China's ambition. There are suspicions about whether President Duterte's vision will come true. There is suspicion whether the Laos will be able to so-called shoulder the debt. Even the Laos have been doing very good feasibility studies about the next 40 years to come. How do you, as someone who's been working on South-South cooperation over the years, look at those questions?
Well, there is a difference between what should be done or what is real here. I guess the ultimate result is through interaction with the people. We come together to talk. If we build infrastructure, hopefully the next round of money will come from the private sector, and to link people as all part and parcel of the global value chain. If it's everything is government made, probably it's not correct. And that's the lesson we also learned here in China. We have been moving from a highly centralized system to a more market-oriented system. And we have been part of the process of globalization. In that process, we have moved from an economy that was only $156 per capita 40 years ago, now to an economy where we have achieved roughly $9,000 US dollars. It's a process. In the process, we made a lot of mistakes, and we also made great achievements.
But, Mr. Minister.
Yes.
We all know these days protectionism is on the rise. Unilateralism has become the slogan of some countries. So, yet BRI is about linking everybody together. It's exactly against unilateralism. So can things be able to thrive in this direction?
I believe that the Philippines, as a member of ASEAN, should always have the ASEAN centrality in its mind. And when you talk about ASEAN centrality, it's about coexisting peacefully with each other, be that in some people-to-people exchanges, be that on military or economic. And we can no longer thrive as a nation if we do not deal with the ASEAN and if we do not deal with a bigger market like China. So it is very imperative for the Philippines to work together with ASEAN, and also important for us to grab the opportunity to join the Belt and Road Initiative. And I would like to subscribe to what the professor said. Action speaks louder than words. But at the end of the day, it's also about sincerity. And I believe that the Chinese government have shown the sincerity that we are waiting or waited for through all of the projects, through all of the infrastructure programs that we are now enjoying in the Philippines, courtesy of China.
Right. But on the other hand, for example, Laos, as a developing country, it is very important where you allocate your money. So you talk about the big vision for these projects related to Belt and Road, but people might wonder, is it the right place to put the money? And as a result of this, how long do you have to wait in order to make sure that the economy will take off?
You think because the status of Laos is to transform the country from landlocked country to landlinked country. So that we would like to have the transport cost lower than we have today. Yes. So according to the feasibility study, I told you about the financial internal rate of return. But the economic internal rate of return is very high, 25%, almost 25%. The economic internal rate of return. So that means the railway, China Railway, will contribute very much for the economy of the country. We allocate not much when we say 30% of the total cost, but the equity is only 40%. The total amount of the investment for the railway is just only 480 billion US dollar. It's not much. It's not much. And you know the return can generate by the transport of the railway themselves, by the service themselves. You know, therefore the allocation is fair. It's good for our development.
I see. I see a lot of confidence in you. And now, shall we also open it to the floor? I understand there are a lot of Belt and Road Initiative scholars and experts sitting there, and our students coming from different countries. I'm sure they have their own input.
Hi, honorable speakers. I'm Wei from Malaysia. Malaysian government has recently announced the cancellation of 3 BRI projects, namely the East Coast Railing projects and 2 pipelines projects, due to the very high national debt of our country. So what's your opinion about our government's move, and what do you think the ASEAN countries can work closer with China in order to prevent such similar situation in the near future? Thanks.
I think about challenges of BRI is that maybe the implementation of the project is too hasty. Then the study of long-term economic efficiency is not enough consideration. Therefore, that becomes some problem or interest that not meet the communities. Many countries express their will to participate, but some countries don't want to contribute their own asset to the project. Ask only from China, it's difficult. We must give some contribution together because it's the common project, that the common interest. So I like to raise.
Okay. Shall we have more questions coming from the audience?
As you know, China and the Philippines still have territorial dispute. And I'm wondering, and our government's position is that we should set aside these disputes and work together, for building a better future, for economic cooperation, for China's investment in Filipinos society. So my question is, what is Philippine society's attitudes towards this issue? And what is your suggestion regarding how do we actually, setting aside these disputes and continue with our Belt and Road Initiative and participate in Philippines' Build program? That's a great program. I'm very glad to hear that.
The question about our skirmish in South China Sea, which we call the West Philippine Sea. I guess, Consul, you have an answer prepared for that.
Thank you. Actually, when President Duterte took up his office, he emphasized that the Philippines is an enemy to none and friends to all. And this was again reiterated by Secretary Martin earlier during the show. And we are trying to pursue this because we are pursuing an independent policy that is good for the Filipino people. Having said that, because Philippines has its position, China has its position, and I'm sure other countries have their own respective positions. If we stand steady on our positions, we are not going to move forward. So as a way to move forward, we agreed to put it on a separate track. So right now, for the Philippines and China, we have created a mechanism, a separate mechanism called the bilateral consultation mechanism, wherein we agreed to meet at least twice a year to discuss sensitive issues. And aside from that, we move on in other areas where we can cooperate. So I think that is a good way to move forward.
Right. And at the same time, China and ASEAN countries have also been working on this mechanism and be able to discuss on a more frequent basis about what might be the rules and the ways to move ahead. So talking is actually at least the starting point to resolving the problems.
My take is that there is something between vision and reality. It is a know-how build-up process. For Laos, the know-how is how to communicate with its people regarding the Belt and Road infrastructure constructing projects. For Philippines, there might be know-how of going back to China and going beyond China to other countries alongside the Belt and Road. For Chinese or for China, there are maybe many tasks down the road. So I want to ask, what's your take on the immediate know-how build-up for each and the respective of your countries and how to tackle that? Thank you.
We could really ask all of you, what's going to be that next immediate step and the next immediate know-how that you are looking at? Belt and Road Initiative. Let's start from you.
It's to get projects on the ground rolling, because for the Philippines, we've had a long history of planning. And of course, the current administration knows this, and they said that it's time to stop planning. It's time to implement projects. And this is what the current administration is currently doing.
The Build program is an 8 trillion pesos program for the entire government, which will last until 2022. And the Belt and Road Initiative is a complementary program coming from a superpower, an economic superpower like China. So just like what Consul Frank said, that it is about time for us to take action, stop talking, and start building, and building so we can get the results. And that is the most important action that we should be doing now.
With the right vision in hand, of course.
Right vision.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the next step is to promote the free trade area. About the free trade area, that we have already the agreement between ASEAN and China. We have. So the substance of this agreement, we should look at and follow this. I agree with our Philippine colleague that they said we should have the mechanism, we should talk, we should have the good dialogue, talk together. Then what we can do now, like the professor said, I think. Then I'd like also to mention about the institution, because we are now working with the construction, but not the target of the construction is not only to have the quality of the railway, but also the good cooperation of cultural activity between the Chinese engineer and the population along the railway. We should have this.
Free trade itself is an institution.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, indeed. It is something that is coming all the way back from the ancient times, and yet it is a vision when it's being translated into the right action that could benefit all of us. And that is all the time we have for this special program, Vision into Reality, a special program focusing on the Belt and Road Initiative, presented to you jointly by 3 televisions from the Philippines, from China, and from the Laos. I'm Tian Wei from CGTN.
And I'm Spokson Silapit from Lao National Television.
And I'm Martin Andanar, representing the People's Television, all the way from the Philippines.
And yes, and before we go, we have young students from Laos here who have put out us some unique costumes of different ethnic groups that is living in Laos. And of course, we also believe the theme of the BRI is diversity is strength. Please enjoy.
All our performers to come up to the stage. Let's have a group photo of Belt and Road Initiative. 有请。